on the issue should Malaysia introduce a new law right to disconnect, I will present my moral judgment on factual evidence supporting my decision that I think Malaysia should introduce a new law right to disconnect. For the first day, it was important on the work-life balance. Literature has proved that fast time has a worse effect on the one work-life balance and is most likely to cause stress and burnout. Portugal's accent also grants parents the right to work from home till the age of 8 years without seeking permission from an employer. Further, secondly, prohibition on the after-hour contacts. Employers attempt to contact employees during any time other than working hours may address the penalty of fines. This legal working prohibition guarantees that people will stick to and does not force employees to answer during their free time. The moral judgment of moral value that supporting my decision for the first one is justice and fairness. It is the duty of an employer of a domestic worker to provide the working condition as required by the law, and one of them is ensuring that an employer will not incur any expenses in working from home. For the second one is utilitarianism. These regulations are put into place to ensure that many people together experience the best kind of utilitarianism in terms of mental health, economic burdens, and work-life balance. It also serves the indirect advantages to companies by making workers more satisfied and productive.
Moral Judgment by Nur Qistina binti Norhanif, my metric number 290524, factual evidence supporting my decision. First, right to disconnect. Research indicates that constant connectedness to work, particularly via digital methods, can contribute to burnout and have a negative influence on mental health. The International Labour Organization (ILO) emphasizes the importance of separating work and personal life for employees' well-being. States like France have already passed a right to disconnect regulation, which has been linked to increased employee satisfaction and lower stress level. Number 2, for factual evidence, equal pay for remote workers. Research from businesses such as Global Workplace Analytics show that workers who work remotely are frequently as productive as their in-office counterparts. Lowering their salary ignores their contribution and the financial saving they bring business. For example, reduce office space and administration expenditure. Such methods can exacerbate workplace discrimination and injustice. For moral value supporting my decision, first, right to disconnect respect for people. Allowing employees to unplug demonstrate respect for their personal time and well-being. It treats them as individuals rather than just employees, resulting in a better, more balanced work atmosphere. For number 2 moral value, equal pay for remote workers, fairness. Paying remote workers equally promotes equality. It is ensured that everyone is compensated for their job regardless of where they perform it, and it prohibits bias. That's all from me.
Hi and good morning, IB2 Doctor. My name is Wildan binti Abd Nasir. My matrix number is 294918, and today I will be presenting my part about the moral judgment. So for the first issue, I completely disagree that remote workers should be paid less. Why? Because according to the principle of fairness, remote workers should be paid equally as long as they perform the same tasks at the same level of quality. Because if we lower their pay simply because they work from home, it will create inequalities within teams, and this can harm productivity and also teamwork. In fact, I did research by Michelle Quirk in 2023 shows that remote workers are 9% more productive as they face fewer distractions and they can focus better compared to the workers that work in the office environment. And besides, organizations also can save on office infrastructure costs when the employees work remotely. Okay, apart from that, by reducing remote workers' compensation despite their higher productivity and also the cost that they bring to the company, it is not only unfair, but it is also unethical because it undermines their contributions to the company and it also creates unnecessary workplace disparities. As for the second issue, I completely agree that Malaysia should introduce a new law to provide employees the right to disconnect. Evidence from countries like Portugal and also France highlight the effectiveness of the right to disconnect law in order to improve work-life balance. And this law helps to establish our clear boundaries, helps to reduce burnout and also increase job satisfaction. And also it will help to enhance our mental health. So in France, since 2017, companies with over 50 employees are required to implement procedures that allow workers to disconnect after hours. And this reduces stress and also it set a strong example to our country, Malaysia, and Malaysia could follow to promote employee well-being. Let's move on to the second part, which is moral value. My first moral value is fairness and equity. Let's talk about fairness in pay. Fairness means that employees should be paid the same if they do the same job and they also deliver the same result no matter where they work, even at home or at office. But when remote workers are paid less just because they work from home, it ignores the value of their work. And this is because remote workers, they still do the same tasks and also they face extra challenges like setting up their workspace and also they need to stay more focused. So, paying them less is very unfair and it can make them feel unappreciated because this can lead to unequal and unhappy work environment, which is not good for any employees. So, fair pay for all workers is not just fair, but it also will help to create a positive and also supportive workplace. My next moral value is justice. Justice means treating everyone fairly, no matter their circumstances. For example, remote worker can be a great support for people who live far from the office or those with disabilities. However, when their pay is reduced just because they work from home, it is very unfair and it is unethical. And this goes against the principle of equal opportunity as these groups are penalized for their situations rather than being supported. So, trust justice in the workplace ensures that everyone is treated with fairness and respect, no matter where or how they work. So, that's all for my part. Thank you.
A very good day to Doctor and my fellow friends. Today we will be discussing two significant workplace issues. First, should Malaysia introduce a law for the right to disconnect, and should remote workers be paid less? First, should Malaysia introduce a law for the right to disconnect? The right to disconnect is a policy that allows employees to disconnect from work-related communication outside working hours. France implemented this law in 2017, requiring companies with over 50 employees to establish policies protecting employees' personal time. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, in 2020, this law has helped improve work-life balance. Women's 2022 research further highlights its benefits, including reduced stress, improved mental health, and increased productivity. In Malaysia, where the culture of always being available is prevalent, introducing such a law could bring significant advantages. Second, should remote workers be paid less? Remote workers often exhibit productivity levels equal to or exceeding their office-based counterparts. A 2021 Gallup poll found that 54% of remote workers feel more productive due to fewer distractions at home. However, some companies reduce their pay, citing savings and office-related expenses. While it is true that remote work reduces company overheads like utilities and office space, lowering workers' pay undermines the principle of equal pay for equal effort. Remote employees contribute the same value, and penalizing them for working outside an office setting is unfair. Instead, companies should focus on rewarding productivity and valuing contribution rather than location. In summary, Malaysia should consider introducing a law for the right to disconnect to safeguard employee well-being and create a healthier work culture. At the same time, remote workers should not be paid less, as their contribution remain just as valuable. Fairness and respect for workers are crucial in building ethical and productive workplace. So now let me continue to explain about the moral values that support my lens of equity, peace, and utilitarianism for the right to disconnect and whether remote workers should be paid less. First of all, equity and justice in compensation. According to the World Economic Forum 2021, the principle of fairness emphasizes equal pay for equal work, regardless where the work is performed. Lowering remote workers' pay creates an unjust inequality, even though they often contribute just as much, if not more, than their office-based colleagues. From the perspective of equity, fair remuneration is essential for equivalent duties. Second, justice and the right to disconnect. The right to disconnect preserves employees' dignity and guarantees fair treatment. By respecting their personal time, companies acknowledge that employees are not just tools for productivity but individuals with their own lives and boundaries. Last but not least, utilitarian perspective, which is enhancing well-being. From a utilitarian point of view, implementing the right to disconnect offers broad benefits. The European Foundation 2021 highlights that this policy leads to higher job satisfaction, lower stress levels, and also increased productivity. By establishing clear boundaries between work and personal life, employees experience better mental well-being, which in turn contributes to organizational success. In a conclusion, fairness, justice, and the collective well-being of employees underline the importance of implementing laws like the right to disconnect and ensuring remote workers receive equitable compensation. By respecting these ethical principles, organizations can create more just and productive.
Hi doctor, my name is Tarshan Pubalan and my metric number is 293853. Today I'd like to present about my moral judgment based on my topic. First of all, I agree with the statement that Malaysia should introduce a new law right to disconnect. Actually, I have two factual evidence that supporting my decision. First of all is the promote work-life balance. Remote work can blur the line between personal and professional life, which making it harder to disconnect. According to the ILO, which is International Labour Organization, it may extend work hours and disrupt work-life balance if unmanaged. To address this, Portugal passed legislation granting workers the right to disconnect, which is promoting healthier work conditions and well-being. And then my second point is increases employee satisfaction and retention. For this, employees with clear boundaries between personal and professional life tend to be more satisfied in their jobs. Gallup research shows a strong link between well-being and job satisfaction. For this, supporting work-life balance boosts engagement and reduces turnover, which enhance both personal and professional well-being. Next, I'd like to talk about the moral judgment of moral values that supporting the decision. For the first one is fairness and equity. For this, the law upholds justice by ensuring workers are not required to work unpaid overtime or remain on call after hours without concern of fair compensation. So, based on this, Portuguese regulation emphasizes respecting an employee vacation time and protecting their personal rights and also promoting ethical work practices to prevent exploitation. And my second point is promotion of work-life balance. For this, the legislation promotes work-life balance to boost productivity, job satisfaction, and well-being. By allowing employees to disconnect, it counters the harmful always-on culture, which is supporting healthier, more sustainable work environments. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Sahrveenee Gengan. My metric number is 292615. Today I'm going to present about the moral judgment. I completely agree with that statement because there are three factual evidence that supporting my opinion. The first evidence is international practice and indicator, which is people are losing their life in the course of workplace, which is injuries or disease every year. This figure out that quite alarming and underpins to need to increase the strict and workplace safety measure. In addition, its Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the affirming employee rights is one of the key requirements for people which are free from bad working conditions. The second evidence is legal context in Malaysia, which is in Employment Act of 1955 provided fair wages to every pupil and every employer to the last protection against the unfair dismissal. It's also Industrial Relation Act. It's been placed in since 1967, protected employees from freedom to form a trade union to collective bargain. And my third evidence that supporting my opinion is economic impact, which is a research shows that a business organization committed to and value like protection of high rights of employees, financial returns, low staff protection from the employee environment, and so on. So these are three factual evidence that supporting my moral judgment. Next, I'm going to present about the moral values supporting my decision, which is the first one is virtue ethics. This approach focuses on characters, values like honesty, compassion, and fairness. Which is organization should respect the employee rights, demonstrate with virtue ethic and leadership contribution to increase the more ethical society. And the third and the second moral value is utilization, which is act should be attempt to maximize the happiness and minimize the harm for the employee, respecting employees' rights from the workplace and safe more environmental. For example, providing appropriate leave and fair compensation enhance the employee well-being and increase the productivity. For example, giving a pregnancy leave or medical certification leave and so on. This benefit both of the organization and society as a whole. And the third moral value is deontology ethics, which is approached by emphasizing that considering people as the end of themselves rather than its aim to using them or just for the benefit or profit. This principle explicitly it support the idea that employees should be more exploited profit rather than treated dignity, respect, and justice for employees. That's all from me. Thank you.